I am so sick and tired. I'm screaming now to get it over with because I know I'm going to hear the same things over and over and over again. Almost every video that I post, somebody has to tell me how grateful and content I should be, and I ought to be glad I'm alive. And this last video did the trick for me. First of all, it was a skit. And it seems like people don't understand or can't comprehend that it was a skit to begin with. Now, I only had 2 so far on this video that come back at me about, I ought to be glad I'm alive. And I take that back. There's like 4 of them that, well, here's how I handle life. Well, it wasn't about being grateful, or it wasn't about being content. It wasn't about being glad I'm alive. The skit was about telling us people that stay in our houses all the time and sit and watch television all the time. It was a skit. Me talking to Lefty and some of the other prison people that was in prison in this box that we make up for ourselves, that we're old and we're decrepit and we got health issues and now we can't have fun. There's no place to have fun. The whole thing was a skit, was supposed to be a little bit funny and to let people know that we can have fun, but where do we have fun? And it just boggles my mind that people can't comprehend things. And then it's always this, you gotta be grateful you're alive, and you're this and you're that. Well, first of all, not even the ones that have listened to my videos and really listened to my videos, no, the ones that really listen to my videos, I've started to get attached to them. And, we're starting to have a rapport. But let me tell you about my life, y'all, and then let me tell you whether I have the right. First of all, I was born without a dad, born out of wedlock. It was put on my birth certificate that my uncle was my dad, and I didn't find out until years later. My real dad apparently got to see me once when I was a little girl, but I didn't get to know him. He already had a family. So as I'm growing up, little girl that didn't know things was molested. And then when my mom got married an alcoholic, naturally, so I grew up in alcoholism and toxicity, and my stepfather tried to, you got the picture. And of course, the very first time, when I was 4 years old, I run down to tell my mom, and I didn't see anything happen, so it must have been okay. Nobody scolded anybody, if that's the way you want to put it. So I grew up with a stepfather that not only tried to woo me, if that's the kindest way I can say it, at 10 and 11 years old. Finally, Mom did listen to me, and she put him out. So then that put it on my shoulders that the rest of my kids, not my kids, the rest of my siblings didn't get to know their dad. Of course, it's probably just best anyway, because he was an alcoholic and a child beater and a wife beater. He used to beat me so bad with a razor strap on my legs till the blood come out. You want to know why? 'Cause he'd bring his drunk buddies into the house and want this little 7-year-old girl to make them all coffee. So I grew up that way. Then finally got so that you're not even to be seen. You're not even to be heard. You go off in the corner someplace. Well, after I got to be a teenager, well, no, and I tried to tell my mom and everybody different things. Well, no, you're too stupid for that. Like my first time with a boy. Nah, you're too stupid to do something like that. And this was in a small village. I've been mistreated and toxic all my life. Growing up, and I'd ask my mom, why this, why that? Well, because I said so. Grew up in a church that half the things that they taught us wasn't real. Uh, Grew up believing that there was not grew up, but at a certain age being told from the time you're a little girl, little boy, or whatever, that there's a Santa Claus. One of the biggest lies out there that they could tell you and be deceptive to you. Teach you how to be deceptive. So then when I got up and started to venture out of the little village, and my first trip was to Florida with what didn't know it at the time would be my husband, the one I had all three of my children with. So then we come back and we continue to date, and I was too stupid and naive to know the signs that he was going to be this or that, because nobody sat down and told me anything. My neighbor lady had to tell me about my monthly. So, all right, I get pregnant. Of course, nobody told me anything, and our health classes certainly wasn't about anything like that. It was about stupid stuff that they did back in the 50s. So, I get pregnant. He marries me because he feels obligated, and I tried I don't know how many times to get away from him, even though I thought that I was in love with him. I didn't know what love was. It was the closest thing to love I ever got. I think my mom hugged me one time when I was little. So, I get married. Wasn't too long after that, man, the abuse started. He'd get drunk, be very abusive. Abusive, abusive, abusive. Not only to me, but to the kids, to our animals. And then got so it started pulling up stakes from wherever we were at, moving to someplace else, and having to start over again. With him alone, I don't know how many times I had to start over. Build a whole new home. Well, not build it, but take a empty shell of a house with so many rooms in it and try to make a home out of it. So that went on for 14 years. Well, not knowing any better than after that, didn't know how to recognize the signs and stuff, I got married again. And he ended up to be, wasn't an alcoholic, but he was a drug abuser. Got away from him. Still didn't know, still didn't learn. Because I had nobody sit down and talk to me. All this stuff I had to learn on my own. Now, all this time, different times, we were going to church and stuff, but the religion does not teach you that God, the Creator, is within you, and how you got to go about finding out how to run your life. Didn't learn any of that. Learned stupid stuff like Noah's Ark and how many millions of animals that was supposed to be put on the ark, and Jonah and the whale. That this man, well, that stuff it was stories. And so there was that. So to make a long story short, being with the first husband took us out to Arizona to hunt the Lost Dutchman's gold mine in the middle of the Superstitions Mountains. Monsoons hit. We're living in a tent. 3 children and two dogs and a cat. And it hit in the middle of the night and tore our tent up. Oh, there I am, just this little wisp of a thing, trying to help him get the tent back up in position so the kids would be all right. Rain and pouring and this and that. Living out in the middle of the desert in a tent at night with wild animals out there and stuff while he was off in the city drinking. And everybody say, well, why did you stay? Why did you stay? I was dumber than a box of rocks. I was raised that way. That you stay with your man no matter what, and the Bible will tell you that. And the Christians will tell you that. So, went through all of that over and over and over again. Different towns, different cities, all different but the same. So once I finally got away from all these toxic relationships, found out that I could go to college, went to college and started learning stuff. And that, so then I was able then to start doing some traveling on my own. And I moved down to South Carolina. My youngest daughter lived down there, and her husband was out on a submarine. And she was in Charleston by herself with a child, and she was pregnant. But I was up in another little city. And that hurricane was coming. It was called Hurricane Hugo. And so I called her up and I said, do you want me to come down? Yeah, I don't know how many miles it was. Something like 200 miles away that I had to travel. And I traveled at night. And we weren't allowed out on the roads because the winds were, kicking up, and I had to go up over this big bridge to get into the city where she was at. Water underneath, naturally. And the bridge was rocking back and forth like that, and I'm scared to death because, first of all, I can't swim. And it was dark. And I'm scared of heights. So I push through, and I get down there to her. And I get in there, and she's just getting ready to go upstairs and sit in her bed. And I said, no, honey. No. That she had a laundry room that was made out of bricks. And I said, we're coming in here. So we went in there, and that's where we stayed. And that hurricane just hit in full force. And I could hear rain coming in. And I slipped out just long enough and went part way up the stairs, and the roof had come off and was blowing all that rain in there. But we made it through. But the next day when we went looking around, it was total disaster. Electric wires down everywhere. Houses torn apart. Trailers torn apart. So she went in and packed up some stuff. We went up to my place, up further, Whiteville, and we stayed there for a couple days till she got her bearings, and we both got our bearings, and then we went back and found her another apartment because she had to leave. She couldn't live in there. And so we got her an apartment and got her settled in, and then I went back home. So then the next hurricane I went through was me and my brother and sister to move down to Tallahassee, Florida. And we weren't there but a couple of days. And Hurricane Helen was coming. Well, it wasn't bad at all. It was just like a tropical storm, but we were fine with that. There was some damage, but nothing much to speak of. Then the next hurricane was Michael in Panama City, Florida. I didn't even know that one was coming. And my daughter called me up and said, "Mom, you got to leave because that hurricane's coming right over top of where you're at." And I was right on the bay. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave my home, and I didn't want, but I did it because she was worried sick about it, but I'm gathering up stuff and putting it in the car, what I could carry and stuff like that. Now, mind you, I'd never evacuated before, so I didn't know what this was going to entail. And I was in my 70s at the time. So I packed up everything, but I got sick. Got real sick then. And I got starting to get dizzy and faint and sick at my stomach. And she had to talk to me and set up a place with her cousin on her father's side in North Carolina for me to go up there. I did not want to go. First of all, it's very hard for me to see at night. And I had cataracts, or I just had the cataracts out. Is basically what I did. So my eyesight still wasn't the best, and it was hard for me to see at night. And it was raining. So once I got everything all packed up, off I went. Kind of even got lost on that because I was listening to the GPS on my phone. If I'd have just went with my own intuition, my creator within, I wouldn't have got that little bit lost in the city when I had done that city time and time again. Well, I finally get going, and the traffic was, and there was times that I had to pull over because I just couldn't see. It was raining so hard, and pull over and rest, and still trying to get out before the hurricane hit. So I finally, the break of dawn come, and I headed out again, and all I had was an address, so I had to go on my GPS to get to her house. And I get there. She's a very, very pleasant woman. I mean, I grew up, man. She was my niece by marriage, but a roughneck, very much roughneck, and she'd say things the way she'd say what she meant. And she didn't particularly care for the fact that I had a little dog with me, because she wasn't informed of that. But anyway, that was her. Well, she's very strict, and that's okay. But the what I had to go through there, and watch on television my city being torn up with the hurricane, wondering if my house was still going to stand. I had a rabbit. It was in a cage, and I pulled it on into the house and gave it all of its feed that I could give it, and that's where I left it, because I couldn't take that with me. Anyway, I kept watching on once the hurricane was over and what was going on and everything, and called a friend I had down there, and he said it was horrible. So, but I got looking on the Google Maps to see if I could see my trailer still standing. And how I recognized it was I had a turquoise big round, like a picnic table, sitting out in front of my trailer, and it was knocked over, and you could see the color, the blue was there, so I knew my house was still standing. So I up and I went back, and my landlord said, "You can come back. We're it's done down here." We cleared it up a little bit for people to get in. And I get down there in the middle of the night. Now I'm going to tell you what. You want to talk about something horrific. And you think that just because I had a GPS that was good. No. It got me lost so many times in among all those trees that were tore down and falling across the roads, and back roads that would get me into and stuff. The only way I got out of that without getting lost was my creator. And let me know, well, no, that's not right. That don't seem right. So I get back. It's in the dark. There's barely any kind of lights going down the streets and stuff. And I couldn't get into the road that I needed to get into to where it was going to take me to my home. I had to go way on past that and come on down and get through. Broken glass and trees down and telephone poles down and houses strung here and there, and it was. But I finally made it. Got there and got back in my house, and they had tried to clear a path through there. And when I went in, I had to weave through some of the places that was bare to get into my house. No electric, little bit of running water, which probably shouldn't even had that, but I drank it anyway because, and I with no electric, I had cold coffee in the mornings, and I had a tree over my porch, and so I sit there. Well, a newspaper guy came by and took a picture of me. I'll try to put it on here as a front cover to the video. So anyway, I went through that hurricane, and that was another time that I basically had to start over again. All my stuff was safe, except there was some damage around the trailer I was in, and they had to come and get that tree off of there, but that didn't happen for weeks. My brother gathered up people from all over his city, his town that we lived in, and everybody pitched in and sent me money and sent me food and different items and stuff like that. And he drove down to help me. and so it was a long time. It was a long time before that area got all cleaned up. And a few times then now I have to come back here and start all over again because I got sick. So all you people that are telling me that I ought to be glad I'm alive and grateful I'm alive and grateful that I have a roof over my head. Well, first of all, you don't know anything about me and my feelings and whether I'm grateful or not grateful. You listen to one or two videos and you think you know it all. Well, most of my people on here, they've listened to me from day one. I've had to start over so many doggone times in my life. Now here I am 80. My choice to come back and have to start over again, but I was ill. And I didn't want my family worrying about me down there. Maybe I would wreck or something like that because I was so ill and anemic. Didn't know it down there because my doctor didn't tell me anything like that. So, yes, you don't know whether I'm grateful or not. So, the next time I hear about gratitude and contentment and that's how you live your life. Well, yeah, you can live your life like that, but you had to do something to get to it in the first place. It just didn't show up on your doorstep for you to be content and grateful. So here's what I'm going to do to save my peace and harmony within myself. I am going to start reviewing and have an AI monitor my comments. So I don't have to go in there and be upset because you might have said something that they're going to pull my video down or upset me to the point that um, it hurts my feelings and stuff like that. I'm 80 years old, for crying out loud. I don't expect no sympathy or no favors or nothing like that, but I expect you to use common sense. So that's all I've got to say. Now, see, that video that I did this morning was for me to start being able, and everybody else out here, have joy in their life and have fun in their life instead of sitting and worrying about what's going on out there in the world. So that's the way it is. I started this channel to have something to do, to have some fun. But apparently, when I asked everybody to break out of this, let's escape this box that we've got ourselves in. That was a skit, hoping people would get some fun out of it and bring some joy and fun in their life. And I asked some people if what did they do for fun. Well, a few of these people, I asked them. I said, "Well, what do you do for fun?" Well, nobody. They didn't tell me. They haven't answered back. So my idea is to start getting some fun in our lives, and if you can see me having fun, well, maybe if you're not having fun, maybe you can step up your game and start having fun, because I've only got another 40 years that I was given on this earth, so I want to use it to the best of my ability, and it certainly isn't listening to people that think they just know it all. So if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right.